All right. Welcome, everyone, to the first live stream of 2025. I decided this year I would start my stream not on mute, so hopefully I can check that box. Yeah, some things have changed here. I upgraded some hardware. I've got a new camera. I got some better lighting. Some things I moved around a lot of my sound panels and stuff in here as well. So posted a little bit about that on the membership side of things in YouTube if you're interested in checking that out. Of course, I'm happy to answer any questions about that as well. Before we get to our guest today, really excited. Dr. Gerald Auger is joining us. Jerry and I met years and years ago now at Dakota State University going through a PhD program and have been crossing paths ever since. So excited to get him on the stream here in just a second. Before I do that, though, wanted to just kick things off with a handful of announcements. First thing is this has been something that has actually been asked of me for quite a while, is to try to organize the content that I have, particularly on YouTube, because I don't find there to be a really good organic way outside of creating playlists. So if you want to check out on my site, thecyberyeti.com, right there on the homepage, I'll go back to the homepage here. Where do I start? Well, I finally put together some recommendations there. So you can see here, building a lab environment, building what I consider core skills, some malware analysis skills, and then moving on to intermediate and advanced. So it's all biased to me, to my content. So yes, there is other stuff out there. There may be better stuff out there, but wanted to share that with everyone. Want to take a moment, thank all of the channel members. Your support means a ton, and I've been really just kind of blown away with the response since launching memberships. A lot planned for this year, a lot more member-only content. For example, here is a playlist for creating Windows shellcode, and it goes through, I'm kind of thinking of these as mini courses, so it's going to take you through all of the steps here to get started building, with a little bit of a focus on reverse engineering as well, because as an RE, someone who's doing malware analysis, you'll run into shellcode quite a bit. Of course, if you're on the offensive side of things, maybe on the red team, this could help you to craft or troubleshoot the shellcode that you're using or creating for your engagements. So just wanted to point that out there. If you're interested in joining, you can just click the join button and see what options are available. A lot more content planned. I'm going to try to hit about once a month for a mini course, and then just regular videos, kind of sporadic videos here along the way. The last thing I wanted to point out here is now the next episode of Behind the Binary. I launched this podcast last October. It's conversations with folks in and around the field of reverse engineering. It's not just reverse engineers, but they have some tangential or direct relationship to it. So you can see here, the first 3 episodes are out. Nick Harbour, you might know him best from Flare On. Victor Alvarez, you may not know him, but he's the creator of Yara. You probably know Yara. And then Ryan Chapman, everybody knows Ryan. If you don't, take a listen, get to know Ryan. He's a great guy working at Palo Alto doing reversing and threat hunting. So you can check out the podcast here on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Really appreciate any feedbacks, reviews, comments that you can leave there, because that helps the podcast to grow and reach a broader audience. Okay, so I think that's it for announcements. I think without further ado, we should get Jerry on here. He's probably not used to waiting.
What's up, dude?
Hey, Dr. Auger, how are you? So I think I was on your podcast not that long ago, and you gave me a very lengthy and I think undeserved introduction, and I'm not sure I can do you justice in response. But as I mentioned, you and I met years ago at Dakota State University going through a PhD. At the time, I can't remember where you were working, but you were doing a lot of policy and GRC work.
At Medical University of South Carolina.
Yeah, okay.
$1 billion academic medical center, yeah.
Yeah, and you had after knowing you for a year or so, decided you were going to start a YouTube channel, and I really had no idea where you were going to go with it. And here we are today. You've got the Gerald Auger Simply Cyber Empire, the podcasts, the live streams, courses, the website. If you haven't been there, go check it out. Let me pull my captions up so I can get a nice easy link here, simplycyber.io. Every time I jump into your Discord server, it's overwhelming how much activity is going on there. Simply CyberCon. I mean, every time I look you up, I learn something new that you're doing, and I'm like, wow, where does he find the time? So awesome. It's impressive, and really congratulations on all that you've created and are doing. So welcome.
Thank you, Josh. Yeah, I definitely appreciate it. And, it takes a village. I got to say, you say, where do I find the time? I am uber busy all the time. But, dude, like, I see people in chat right now, like Chris Whitlaw, Casually Joseph. By the way, if you could give a shout out to Casually Joseph, he is a huge fan of your content, just so you know.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, yeah, thanks, Casually Joseph. I have this ability. I think it's one of my only superpowers. I refined it while I was in academia, and that is I can instantly forget names. So it's something that's like it actually terrifies me. I'll meet someone in person or virtually, and I'll say, okay, got to remember this, got to remember this, and it's like the harder I try, the quicker I forget. It's tough. It's really tough. I should carry a notebook around with me, I think. But
No,
yeah,
it's all good. But to your point, like Simply CyberCon, it was a group effort. Even Josh, I don't know if you know, but just a couple of weeks ago, we were recognized and we won SANS Difference Maker Year of the Difference Maker Award Podcast of the Year for our daily cyber threat brief. And there's like a mod team that's there every day. We got a DJ Bisek. He's like behind the glass producing with me. So it really is a movement. And as Justin Gold put in chat, which by the way, it says Justin Gold is his name, but it's J Crypto. We're not here to take part. We're here to take over, but we're doing it in a very loving, inclusive way of taking over. It's almost like the Borg. Like we're not wanting to destroy you. We're wanting to assimilate you and make you and be part of it. Be part of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yes. And I did actually hear the news. I guess in the list of things I was thinking of, that's another thing I tend to do is I get ready for a live stream and then that anxiety kicks in right when it starts and I forget a third of the things I wanted to say. So congratulations on that. I did take the time to vote. And so hopefully that I'm sure one vote was
pushed me over the edge. Yeah. Pushed us over the edge.
Right. No, I doubt, I was going to say the opposite of that. Like you didn't need it, but yeah, that's really awesome. So congratulations on that.
No, I appreciate that. And let me tell you, so this week, I'm actually running a course right now alongside Casually Joseph, who's my TA, since I learned how to TA while I was TAing your class, Josh, if you remember so many years ago, 748, I think it was.
Yeah, I do.
But I'm doing a class on personal branding for a career in cyber, helping people understand how to create content that's meaningful, that they get excited and passionate about, but also delivers value to a community. And today actually was the day we talked about live streams and doing lives. And you mentioned a little bit of anxiety. So someone like who is as boss as this guy right here, your beard has its own, avatar, right? Like it's its own identity, right? Still, PhD, works Mandy and Google, does all the cool stuff, can write assembly like with a pencil and paper, and still gets anxious about it. When I first started doing live streams, Josh, a million years ago, I would have 10-minute countdown timers, and I would literally do push-ups on the ground relentlessly until the timer got to like 10 seconds because I was just trying to like burn off nervous energy, anxious energy, and I'd have like a whole list of like, make sure you talk about this, and this. So, dude, 100% right there with you.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great that you just hit record and decided to do it.
Yeah. I have kind of I don't know the personality. I've met people, I sounds like you just from what I know of you over the years and others. Jared DeMott's another guy who I've trained with, and he just feeds off of energy and people and brooms and crowds. And for me, it's like a drain. Normally I'm just kind of here sitting and I'm not maybe the most exciting personality. And so I really got to try to work it up and bring it up. And I got to find things like energy drinks and other high sources of caffeine to really get me going. Otherwise, my natural state is he was that guy I don't know. He had like the really monotone voice, and he was in a lot of movies in the 90s and the early 2000s.
Oh, Ben Stein?
Yeah.
Bueller.
I'm afraid sometimes I can be like that, but I don't know. It's 2025. I'm going to change things up this year.
Well, let me ask you that question, Josh. Like, so you're a reverse engineer. You spend a lot of time in a dark room with just the light of a monitor on your face. Is that, which is not necessarily antisocial, but it's very focused and, heads down work. Do you find that, people who do it professionally, right? So I was more academic, right?
Mm-hmm.
More professionally, do you find that is kind of like more likely to be found for reverse engineers and malware analysts than not?
Yeah, I would say, I don't know. Like I hesitate to categorize too broadly, but I think there's a level of solo. I like being solo. I like the work because it lends itself really well to me being able to just dig into a binary or whatever it happens to be that you're trying to reverse, and you can just get lost in the work. You can do it by yourself. If you need help, you can reach out for it. But a lot of reversers I know, they just like to work alone. That's not to say that they aren't social or they don't like to be in group stuff, but it's like you're working the binaries by yourself. So I see that quite often. I'm on a team now, Flare team, 40 some odd reverse engineers, probably one of the largest teams REs out there. And it's like you would see with any team. There's a mixed bag of people that some like to be kind of left alone. We do a lot of training. So we have a handful of folks on the team that really like to get out here and get public and do trainings. And I'm surprised we don't have a YouTube presence, but maybe that'll change this year with the team. I don't know.
We're open for collaborations. Come on.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I would say it's, but it seems to be more often than not the REs I meet, they like to just kind of be in the background. All right.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. You said you don't have a YouTube presence, but you guys did launch that podcast, and you mentioned it in the intro. How is that podcast going? What's that experience like?
Yeah. So, the Flare team, like Mandiant has some YouTube, but the Flare team itself doesn't. If it did, I don't know what happened to the videos. I suspect it was never there. I knew the answer. I asked at one point in time. I've just forgotten. Podcast is going well. That is definitely a product of the Flare team, with me at the helm as the host and the editor and the interviewer and sort of all things that go along with it. So learning a ton with that. It's I think it's going pretty well. It's an audio only. Information about viewership is a little different world than what I'm used to on YouTube, and that it seems like downloads is the primary metric. And so, a few hundred downloads per episode right now, and I'm hoping to see that continue to grow into the new year. I have enough episodes recorded, releasing at a monthly rhythm to last probably the rest of the year. So some really cool stuff.
Oh, that's
really
awesome.
Cool topics.
In January, you've already got a year of content. That's sick, dude.
Yeah. Well, that anxiety thing, I'm like, I want to make sure I have enough stuff ready to go for the year. And there, like with that podcast, I'm not really chasing trendy items or the news. So it's easier for me to talk to, like Nick Harbour, who is episode 1, and just say, hey, tell me about the history of Mandiant. Because that's some of the stuff. Part of the goal with it is to capture some of that, just the things that have happened in industry that have had an impact on a lot of organizations, a lot of people, but the side of the story that maybe we don't typically get to hear. We oftentimes hear about, like the Flare team puts out great technical blogs, but there's usually a story behind that. And like Mandiant, there's a story about how Mandiant grew. And what was it like in those early days doing incident response work and reverse engineering work when RE was still very much a dark arts thing that you didn't hear people doing as a profession. So hoping to capture a bunch of those stories.
Yeah, that's cool. I just dropped a link in chat for everybody to check it out. It's Behind the Binary. It's out now. I dropped a Spotify link. That's more of my choice of platform for audio podcasts, but I'm sure you can get it on Apple and Google Play and all those other ones. Yeah,
for sure. So I'll put that in the chat too, at least on YouTube. You can find it anywhere. Behind the Binary. I had Gemini help me create that title. That's kind of become my creative.
It's perfect. I literally did that with my students earlier today. Like, here's a description of all the things you want to do. Give me 10 names that are compelling, captivating, interesting, etc. As far as like knowing your craft, right? Reversing, you're clearly a trained expert, but like, one of the things that I feel like people don't realize, and people in chat, let me know if this is resonating with you or new to you. And Josh, you definitely know, like, half of it is like, I guess kind of like marketing, and not scummy marketing, but like you can do really cool things, but if no one knows you're doing them, they're not going to know about it. And it's, people would love to know about it if they knew it was there. So you do have to do some self-promotion and promoting across platforms and stuff like that. So This is super cool. I hope Behind the Binary really takes off.
Yeah, thanks. I'm not looking for a Difference Maker of the Year award out of it, but I would love to get a solid following, and just because I want to share the stories. That's the biggest thing, and make it accessible. I think oftentimes a lot of folks think reverse engineering. I don't do it for a living. It's too in the weeds. I'm not interested in it. Whatever the case may be, I'm trying to make it a little more accessible. So like, there's no talk about ones and zeros. Nobody's getting into IDA Pro without a video or a desktop sharing session. It's just conversations. So hopefully, if you're not into RE, or even into the technical side of cyber, it's something that you could find interesting, and maybe shed some light into the people and the personalities. And so, yeah, that's really the goal. You mentioned branding, and that's another area that I think is really, it's challenging, especially if you're not, like, I don't know, I don't feel naturally inclined to be a promoter. Like, branding and thinking of myself in that regards is really difficult. And it's taken me a really long time to figure out how to do it in any sort of measurable way. You have gone from like 0 to 100 in no time. So, like, what can you share? Because I've got a number of different ways I look at this. So sorry if I'm maybe like dancing around a little bit. But like, one aspect is, I want to become. I don't like the word influencer, but I guess that kind of categorizes it in a term. I want to become someone who can build a followership on a place like YouTube. The other side of it, I think, is how do you do enough of it just to get recognized and help your prospects for getting into a job? I know like big tech is really competitive, and I've gotten recruited to interview. I've not had to apply to interview. And so I feel very, very lucky because I've short-circuited this process that I know is grueling for a lot of people. So, but I think a lot of that's due to the fact that I had a channel, I had a little bit of a social media presence, and not an overwhelming one. I don't have a you or a John Hammond or anything, but enough that like I drew attention to myself in a positive way. So I don't know if there's something in there, but if there, if something you want to, that branding,
so,
what can you tell us about it?
Yeah, no problem. And chat, I know many of you from Simply Cyber, and me and some of the things I'll say here, and some might be new. But if you're new to me, obviously this will be on replay. But how often do we go back and watch something that we recorded? That's just a quick aside. Like, how many times have you been like, "Hey, can you hit record on this meeting, this Google Meet, this Zoom meeting? Can you go ahead and hit record?" And then, like, have you ever gone back and watched one of those things? No, you're just like, "Oh, what was it?" Like, you ask around. Like, anyways. My suggestion would be grab a pen and paper of if these things matter to you about branding that we're about to talk about, because I have been doing YouTube for 5 years. I have grown it quite a bit. I've got a lot of help, a lot of great people in the community. I've got multiple jobs that I've taken, some I haven't taken, where like literally they just call me and say, like, this is the phrase: what will it take for you to quit your job and come work with us? Like, that's the question. Not like, are you interested in coming in? Would you like to talk? Like, tell us what your thoughts are. It's just like, come in. Like, we've got a job that you want. So let's talk about branding and how to crush it. Okay. So first of all, if your goal, like, let's just take the objective, the clear goal at the end of the line here is to get a job or to short circuit the interview process, to build a personal brand, which is something that I'm super passionate about. So a couple things. One, you've got to be memorable. You've got to stand out in a sea of sameness. Now, there's a couple tricks here, right? So this is sans content yet, okay? Not sans, but like the Latin word sans, like without content, okay? We'll talk about that in a second. I have made so many mistakes. Like, so first of all, Gerald Auger, Simply Cyber. I love Simply Cyber. I love the name Simply Cyber. It's what I wanted to call the YouTube channel from day one, and that's fine. It's not Gerald Auger is a tough word to spell. Gerald's not a common name. People don't like John Hammond, like that kind of slides off. Cyber Mentor, that kind of slides off.
Yeah.
Now,
Stroshine is not a roll off the tip of your tongue.
Yeah. Jay Stro. Yeah. So anyways, Josh has done an amazing job because Josh, just by virtue of being like, I know you can't tell on stream, but like, he's a tall guy, kind of an imposing figure. He's got this massive beard, right? So when he says the Cyber Yeti, it totally matches, it totally meets, and it's wicked memorable. There's a guy on YouTube named Mad Hat, and he wears like one of these winter hats with the eye and the mouth cut out. It is wicked memorable
Yeah.
because you can be like, dude, I saw this funny ass. I'm sorry. I saw this hilarious video. And they're like, what was it? And you're like, I can't remember, but the guy had a mask on or something like that. And they're like, I remember him. I've seen him.
Mm-hmm.
That is stickiness. If I say something funny and they're like, oh, I saw a funny thing. And they're like, where was it? They're like, I don't know. It was just like a middle-sized, gray-bearded white dude. Like, it's like, okay, I'll look for that on YouTube. So if you can, a memorable look, memorable name. I'm not saying you've got to, put your clothes on backwards and stand on your hands to do your shows. But if you're able to be a bit more sticky with your memorability, it's good. Even, dude, I'll give you another example. I don't know what this guy is. I'm a little into the Magic the Gathering scene, or I'm getting back into it. Which is,
okay.
It's like a collectible card game that is, if it's like Dungeons and Dragons, kind of.
Yep.
Anyways, if you look at the all-time greatest Magic the Gathering players, they all look like a sea of sameness. And then there's one dude who wears this bright yellow hat, and it just stands out. I don't know his name, but I know if I see that bright yellow hat in a video, I know that that's a Magic World Champion at one point. So there's different like gimmicks or techniques or whatever. Obviously, don't compromise your own self-dignity or integrity. But that's one thing. The next thing.
Yes, and I will interject.
Yeah.
The Cyber Yeti thing, and I will admit, for me, that felt really awkward when I first started using it. I don't know why. It just did, referring to myself in a different, I guess, with a different way, in a different way. But I came up with the idea. It's kind of a story. Actually, one of my kids helped me with it, and I started using it this year, and I noticed a big difference in that stickability or whatever it is when I switched to using that instead of, because everything up until then was just my name. It was just everything I branded was just Josh Stroshine, and it's been a big difference. Even going to Black Hat DEF CON this summer, and I took stickers and stuff, and it was just a completely different experience. So I don't know if everyone needs to do that, but I can tell you firsthand from my experience, it's a difference maker.
And it depends what your goals are, right? Like, again, like there's all sorts of goals, but like, again, you really want to be at the end of like, what's your objective, and then march towards it. If I had come up with something like, I don't know, the Cyber Goblin or something, you know what I mean? Like something more like the Cyber Halfling or Hobbit Jerry or whatever, I could have like leaned into it and had like, this is the Shire behind me, and have all sorts of like props and stuff. And then when I'm at Black Hat, I'm wearing like a vest and I got a walking stick. And yeah, it would have blown me up faster. But, just for me, this is who I am. And honestly, there's a fine lines there too. Like Cyber Yeti, like let's say that there's a company called like SC Reversing. Okay, like just some fictitious reverse engineering company. If I was more, if Josh is wearing like a gorilla mask and making grunting noises and acting a fool and doing some assembly or whatever, well, then maybe that's not who I want to work at my company and represent. But it's a nice balance because he's clearly a professional. He's clearly what he's into. And he's got a little bit of color, a little bit of dimension, a little bit of personality, which is frankly quite important because I don't want AI Josh sitting next to me. Right. So you gotta do it in a measured way for effectiveness. The other thing that I want to point out around branding and building a community and stuff like that. There's a lot of different ways to do it. You have to realize that you are serving a community, right? So if you are trying to build a YouTube following, and I don't use the term influencer either, I just consider myself a content creator and kind of like a mentor at scale. If you're trying to build an audience because you want to be at the top of a pyramid, like Josh, this isn't private, but Josh was in the military, right? So there's a lot of these like, are you a leader or are you like a boss or whatever? And it's like the person who's like at the front of the line helping people pull the sled, and then there's a person standing on the sled like yelling at the people pulling the sled, right? Like you're serving a community, so you have to respect that community and make sure that you're doing right by them. And so if your goal is to build a community, serve them, and they will respond in kind. And I mean, that's honestly, and I'll let them speak for themselves. Like a lot of the mods are here right now. Justin, Kimberly, Joseph, others. Like, the reason they volunteer, the reason they show up is because we're doing something wonderful together. We're helping people. And when new people show up, they feel welcome. They feel helpful. It's just, if your goal is community, it's a wonderful thing, but you have to have the right mindset. If your goal is personal branding and growing that, which you can do both. I mean, I've done both. You have to make sure that you are consistent, showing up, putting good into the network. And I can go into each of these a bit deeper if you want. But you know, that's that. Yeah, go.
Yeah. What, yeah. So what do you think is, for someone who's just trying to help short circuit the interview process and kind of get that foot in the door somewhere?
Yep.
And I mean, I guess you're not really short circuiting the interview. I mean, I guess you are in a way, because you could get recruited, right? That would be one way in which then you're invited to apply, and that short circuits a lot of mess. The other is just simply helping to land that first interview. Like, where do you see leveraging what we're talking about to help with that? Like, what are practical things that someone could do?
Yeah.
Especially if, like, they say, hey, I don't really want to build a community. I don't really want to maintain a channel on YouTube. I just want enough stuff there so people know who I am.
So metaphorically speaking, we're talking about using the side door instead of going through the front door, right? That to me, metaphorically, that's what we're talking about. So you don't need to build community. You don't have to build your own community. You don't have to start your own YouTube channel. All right. But what you can do is, or what you need to do is to join a community and not think about, oh, I'm going to join this in order to like exploit these people and get a job. You have to go into the community with the intent of being part of something, being a contributing member. And I'll give you a wonderful example of someone who did that is not starting their own channel and everything like that, right? So we had a guy a couple years ago. He since like left the community. No ill will. People come and people go. It's very some are sticky, some are transient. Yep. And he asked me. He said, "Hey Jerry, I really want to learn to program in Python. I've never programmed. I believe that I need to know how to do it in order to be effective in cyber, and I want to learn it. Can on the Discord server, can I have a learn to code channel, and I'll post a challenge, a basic challenge every day, and I'll hide the answer, and I'll solve it myself, but I'll encourage other people who are looking to learn programming to do it with me." And I said, "Yeah, that sounds cool." So he did it for like probably 9 to 12 months every day. And over time, people would come in and it became like the Wordle or Sudoku, right? Or the crossword puzzle. Yeah. People would show up in the morning and it'd almost be like a race who could solve it first. And then, like, Josh got it again. Or like, I got up wicked early at midnight and like solved it. And then like, so then it turned into playful. It turned into relationships. It turned into, hey, like, I saw you missed yesterday. Everything cool? Oh, yeah, my daughter's sick. Like, oh, that sucks. Like, a couple days later, how's your daughter feeling? So you start building relationships, but you're also working on programming. You're working on solving it. And Pete was delivering that value to the community. He didn't say, hey, and after your 10th challenge, why don't you send me a list of open recs at your company? He just, did what he did. And you have to make people aware that you're looking and what you're into and all these other things. But that's an example of delivering into a community. And I don't want to name any specific names because I don't want to see like, whatever. But like, I know a lot of times jobs aren't posted. Okay. And this happened literally about 2 weeks ago. Okay. 2 weeks ago, a guy messaged me who is whatever, somebody we know. And he said, "Hey, I just got let go." Like it was like right before Christmas. I'm like, dude, that stinks, man. Like, I'm so sorry. And then like the next day, somebody in a private DM group chat that I'm in literally said, "Hey, I got a new job. I'm super excited. I told my boss I'd backfill my job. Do you guys know anyone?" And I was like, "Yeah, like, here you go." And neither of them ever said like, "Oh, like, Jerry, thanks for Simply Cyber community. I can't wait to exploit you." Like it's all about timing and opportunity, right? You've ever heard the phrase, luck is when opportunity meets preparation? There's no such thing as luck. It's your opportunities are there and you're prepared to realize them. And this is what happens. So the final thing I'll say about this too, and this is a metaphor that the community, Simply Cyber community, is probably sick of hearing, but when you're doing networking, when you're contributing to a community, think of it as like walking through a field and throwing seeds, okay? And then coming back through and watering them and nurturing them. Not all of those seeds. We've all done, the 4th grade biology experiment with the seed in the paper towel. Like, not all of them are going to sprout flowers or seedlings. And then some of them are going to die after that. And a cold snap's going to come through and kill some, but maybe a couple are going to grow and bloom and turn into a tree or turn into a flower. And those are the kind of the opportunities, but you don't know. You can't just throw one seed down and be like, there we go. I did it. I did the seeding. Yeah. So, that's what I would say is how to short circuit it from a community and network perspective. Also, if you just make a ton of content on reverse engineering, brand yourself as the reverse engineer in the community. This guy's always posting stuff about reversing. Then the second I need a reverse engineer, my first thought goes to that person. So branding yourself as that individual. And the final thing I'll say, Josh, is that you need to think about the hiring manager's perspective. Okay. So I don't know how much hiring you've done, Josh. I've done hiring because GRC people are nerds and we don't use keyboards. We only have clipboards. So like we have to fill our time with hiring people. But when someone quits on your team, if you get new budget and you have a resource allocation, that's the gold, because then you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to like make this perfect role. When someone quits on Friday, gives their notice, you're like, oh Jesus, I've got a ton of work that needs to get done. I need to fill this position as quickly as possible. And if I have to go through 3 months of job recs and interviews and all these things, and I know that's the right way to do it, for me personally, if I know somebody who can do the job and is looking for a job, I'm going to go to them and be like, do you want this job? Yes. Salary, agree, good to go. HR, here's the person. Plug and play, get them in get them in the next week and have that 2-week 2-week notice be them getting trained up. Now that's the dream right there, but that's what I'm talking about. These things happen. Thank you for my TED Talk.
Yeah. Well, tons of comments about networking. I would say I agree with everything you said. I can't go back to the beginning of where my career started and say I planned on being where I'm at today. Things happened, and I saw some opportunities. Some of it I worked for a long time, and then I got lucky, to use your definition of lucky. Some of my biggest breaks have been my network. Some folks that I know that have said, "Hey, I know a person who I think is the right fit for this thing," and it all works out. And so it's hard because sometimes if you like to be, I like to feel like I'm in control, and part of this is just like you have no control. You just keep working hard. You don't know the end of the story. It's gonna come, but you just don't know what it is. And you just sometimes have to be patient with yourselves, patient with the process, patient with, there's so many variables. So it can be tough though. So hang in there.
Yeah.
If anyone's out there struggling. But network is great. And what you're talking about, finding communities online, finding the local B-sides, finding the local security meetups, there's usually, communities are usually pretty ripe with them. That's a great place to go and just start integrating. Don't come in with expectations, but just start integrating and contributing.
Yeah. And another thing that I'll share with you, with the audience here, is you never know who's watching. Right? You never know who's watching. Like I'm talking to, Josh and I are friends, so maybe that doesn't count. But let me pick someone in chat. I think Oreo Disassembler is somebody that I don't recognize. Yeah, Oreo Disassembler. What's up, Oreo Disassembler? Right?
I love the name, by the way, because I am also an Oreo disassembler. I think I am an expert level Oreo disassembler.
That's awesome. So, I mean, yeah, you've got kids. You got to be able to crack that code and look like a pro in front of them.
Yeah. But I don't drip the milk. It stays.
Like right now, Oreo Disassembler's in chat, and I don't know who Oreo Disassembler is. It's nice to meet you. And they're watching me talk up here. And, I'm just being me and putting kindness out there. And he's learning, or she's learning about who I am. And then maybe at some point in a year or 2 years, Oreo Disassembler's career path goes up and they get into a position to be a hiring manager. And they remember this conversation. They're like, dude, I wonder what that Jerry, like, what was that guy's name? Let me message Josh. Josh, what was that guy you had on who was talking about Simply Cyber and all that? Oh, it's Jerry. Boom. And now, here we go. It's not because there's a temporal element to it. You just never know who's watching. And I'm not saying be a fraud. Don't walk around and be a fraud 24/7 and then come home and like wash your face and be like, thank God I'm a horrible person. I've been waiting all day to act horrible. Like, be you, but be a kind version of you, because you never know who's looking. And by the way, it cuts both ways. So if I'm really nice to you, Josh, because you're doing something for me, you asked me to come on your show so I can talk about Simply Cyber. So I'm going to like grease your butter or grease your buns and send you like a welcome package and all, like, you know what I mean? Like, like go over the top for you. And then Oreo December's like, hey, Jerry. And I'm like, what can you do for me? Right? Like, it cuts both ways, because then Oreo Disassembler in 2 years becomes that hiring manager. And they're like, hey, Josh, what was that guy's name? Because I would love to send him a really rude some e-card to let him know how I'm not going to give him that job. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm being hyperbolic here to make the point, but you guys.
Yeah, for sure. So maybe shifting gears, and I have to admit, this is the most conversation I've ever had in one of my streams. And so it's great. Thanks everyone for showing up and providing all the conversation. I'm finding myself watching it a lot more than usual, and that's also something I'm trying personally to change with the streams moving forward, is build that.
Bring the chat. Bring them on stream. Bring a couple on stream. Get used to that move, dude.
Yeah. Okay. I'll pick your brain about that maybe after the stream or something. Yeah, the butter buns convo right here.
Just click on it. It'll bring it right as a lower third.
I haven't heard that expression before, but I understand. So the field is large. Right? Cyber has since, and I use the term cyber. I know there's people that don't like the term. It's like Packer. I still use the term Packer. It still works. It still fits. You kind of understand what I'm talking about. But the field is large, and I have found over the years teaching a lot of RE stuff, I get a lot of students that get in, they just don't like reverse engineering. That's totally understandable. Sometimes you don't know you're going to like something until you do it. But for anyone who's, I don't know, I think it kind of, again, there's two ways I want to look at this. For anyone who's thinking about getting into cyber, do you have any suggestions or insights as to how they can figure out where they should start pursuing? Do they want to go a technical route? Do they want to go a non-technical route? And then maybe for someone who's looking at, I've been doing this job for 15 years. It's time for a change. How do I test the waters in other areas? Maybe really change up what I'm doing and completely shift gears in my career. Do you have any suggestions or insight for how folks can go about that in a way that is productive and useful for them?
Yeah. So yes, I do. I mean, there's a couple different ways to do it. And again, when we think about, okay, so GRC Mafia, let's break it up the way GRC people do. There's like people, process, and technology, right? So those are kind of the three dimensions of things. So let's look at it that way. People, right? Like, join communities, right? You can just join normal cybersecurity communities like Simply Cyber and interact with people. Like on our Discord server, we have like a red channel and a blue channel and a malware or MLAI channel and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So you can get in there and kind of talk to people, get exposed, ask questions, like find a supportive community that allows questions and not, because I don't know, I haven't seen it so much lately, but there used to be like real toxicity. Like you'd ask a question like, is Sec Plus good? And they're like, ugh, like, get out of here, loser. Like, it's okay. So find a community that's cool, but ask the questions. I would say, so I think anyone can get into cybersecurity, and but it's work, right? So two things that people need to be mindful of. One, it's a lot of work. I always tell people this. It's a lot of work to break into the industry. And once you get in, it's not like you've reached the summit. All you've done is got to base camp and you have learned how to work hard. The real work starts now that you've got the job, right? So you have to realize there's no easy button. It's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah.
Second of all, and I'd be curious about your thoughts about this. I firmly believe, and this took me a while to come up with this, I firmly believe that you have to be a lifelong learner in order to achieve success in cybersecurity. I feel like if you're not a lifelong learner, you're going to work just enough to get in, and then you're just going to list and get stagnant and have an unpleasant career if you even maintain a career around that. So you have to have that kind of personality trait. And then finally, the final thing I'll say, let me share my screen, Josh, and I'll bring it up in 1 second. I think you need to like go to the buffet line and actually try some different meals. So this is a blog post that I put on LinkedIn, and I'll link it in a second. But the post is effectively, how do I get education for free? Because I always want people to do the free stuff, right? It would suck to invest money and then find out like, oh, I don't actually like this. So I kind of broke it out. Here's a blue team thing. Here's a kind of GRC vulnerability management thing. Here's a straight GRC analyst thing. Here's a pen testing thing. Here's a differ thing. If you do these 5 hands-on free practical labs, you're going to know, do I like digital forensics? Do I like pen testing? Is GRC analyst boring and I don't care for it? But by doing this, you can at least get the ice cream samples at Baskin Robbins and figure out you don't like Superman ice cream, but you do like Rocky Road ice cream. So now you can get a full sugar cone of Rocky Road and really, plow it in your grill. So that's what I would say to people. It's really about finding communities that are into it, asking questions, being inquisitive, but then practical skills are so vital for you to quickly realize if it's for you or if it's not for you. I'll go ahead and link this actual post to everybody. But depending on what community you get into, there's like full-on sub-niche communities of all of them. Like, Josh, there must be some type of like reverse engineer or malware analyst crews running around, right? Or gangs or whatever.
Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to find that blog post. I'm going to give up because LinkedIn search is not helping me right now.
I can keep talking.
Yeah. What do you mean by crews? Like folks that are helping?
So, like the digital forensics crews are particularly strong, but like you go in and it's like they all know each other. They know what resources go to what. They know who wrote tools. Like the other day, just a minute ago, you were like, "Oh yeah, behind the binary, we were having the guy who invented Yara there," and I'm sure you know Florian Roth and all these other people. So like, I wonder, basically, if I wanted to become a reverse engineer, yes, I can take the training and I can get into general Discord servers, but I suspect that there is essentially like a club for reverse engineers. And I don't mean like a good old boys club. I mean like you're walking down the street, it's Saturday night, you got your dancing shoes on, and you got your red club, your blue club, your reverse engineer club. The GRC audit club looks like the Delta Sky Club because we're balling, right? Like is there those kind of communities around that reverse engineering stuff?
Yeah. So I don't know how best to answer that. I actually started a Discord server. In part, it was honestly emulation of you, but more of the reason was because I don't feel like there is a great community just for RE and malware, and I wanted to create that. Now, I could be missing the obvious. There are some closed off groups that I've gotten to know about over the years and been invited to, but you typically don't get invited to those until until you've reached a certain level. I mean something like you're doing something that's drawing attention to yourself. If you're trying to break in to the field, you're probably not there unless you just happen to know them. And so, when I got started, part of trying to figure out the ups and the downs of it all was not just, I decided a couple of things, and one was to do the work. The other, though, was to try to find, like Emotet was a big thing at the time, and the Cryptolamus group, and they were doing a lot of public tracking. And so I tried to find ways to engage with those communities in a helpful way. And so, helping with some of the scraping in little bits and pieces. I was doing nothing to the level that they were, but I was trying to get on their radar. And then there's been a couple of I think groups that have started over the years that haven't, I don't know if they've stuck around or not. It's been a while since I've really gravitated towards them. And part of it too might just be because I have been a stubborn solo learner in a lot of regards. Like when I set out to figure out a problem or reverse a sample, like I tend to look to myself and then resources online. And so I never personally found a lot of, I don't know, community, like direct, like I had someone I could go to or a group of people I could go to and pose the question. I usually struggled for a long time until I figured it out. And that's also the reason that I create content, is because I'm like, okay, if this took me this hard, it was this hard for me to figure this out, someone else is going to struggle with it. Maybe I can share it and help them out. So yeah, that's kind of why I created the Discord I did, is because I want those that are getting particularly into malware and RE to be able to find
What's the Discord? Can we drop a link to it?
Yeah, if you just go to the website.
What's the website? Drop a link to it?
Yeah, right here, thecyberyeti.com. You'll find a link. It's easy to get to from there because it's just right there on the homepage. I think Oreo Disassembler, I recognize the name from the Discord, so thanks for crossing over and for joining the group. And somebody had mentioned here in the chat, but that's one of the channels that I wanted to create, because you'd mentioned it as well. One of the channels is No Question is Dumb. Like if you have a question, you have that question for a reason, whatever it is. I want you to feel like you are in a community that's not going to give you the RTFM response. They're going to give you that help and that support to figure out what it is. And so take away some of the, I don't know, the old guard cruft or some of just the negative energy that I've experienced in the community over the years, and not just in cyber. I've in the military, in academia, everywhere I go. So.
Yeah, I like it. I'm posting links in YouTube chat. It's not showing up in Restream chat, so I don't know if it's not appearing. Let me know if those links aren't appearing. Can you share my screen, please?
Yeah.
And I love that you're breaking down those barriers, Josh, because that's what Simply Cyber does too. So this is the cyberyeti.com. Make sure you put the THE in at the beginning, the Cyber Yeti. It's not cyberyeti.com, it's the Cyber Yeti.
Yeah.
And you can see
wasn't available.
Yep. And you can see here all the links, including the link to the Discord, is right here. Obviously, Josh's YouTube and Twitter, GitHub, etc., is all here. But this is the one that you're going to want to kick on and really start diving into. And you can see it's actually let's join the Yeti's den. So yeah, I guess that's what Yetis live in, is the den.
I'm all in. When it's funny, when I finally embraced the Cyber Yeti as a sort of a brand, it helped with other things like this, because what do I call a Discord server when it's just me?
Yeah.
Welcome to Josh's Discord server. Well, that's kind of, I don't know. That doesn't have a real memorable ring to it. So, yeah. And that website is all a brainchild of mine with the help of Wix. So
I love it.
It looks like something I've created, because it is something I've created. And
yeah, go to the cyberyeti.com. And I can't share links because of security reasons on the stream here, but this is what it looks like, and then the Discord's right here. I want people to go check it out, Josh. So I want them to know how to get it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. Yeah. Cyberyeti.com. I don't know how to fix your link sharing ability off the top of my head here. So
you'd have to make me a moderator, a community moderator on your YouTube channel. You don't want to do that. Don't sweat it.
Okay.
Don't sweat
Understood.
it.
Yeah,
but it's good. It's good. Go check this website out. All right, cool.
Okay, cool. Yeah, a lot of great comments here. So what else is there? The industry is changing a lot. It's a constant flux. So yeah, you mentioned learning and the ability or the desire to be a constant learner, and I think I suspect that holds true for a lot of demanding professions, but certainly in this field, there seems to be no limit to it, and it's a challenging thing, because it's not only do you have to keep up with the learning yourself just to do the daily job. Now we've got, how do we integrate LLMs into our workflow? I mean, that's a whole new challenge that I think is going to open up a whole lot of really interesting and probably amazing capability. But there's also like the way that kind of cuts the other direction too, is that like the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And so it feels like that whole, I didn't understand that imposter syndrome for the longest time. And I think it finally makes more sense to me, in that sometimes it's hard to get to like declare yourself an expert because there's just so much I mean, you can really drill yourself down into a niche area, which I suppose is partly what you have to do. But you just like, oh, but there's so much I don't know. And every time I crack open a new binary, or I talk to a colleague that's doing this work, or it's been doing it longer than I have, I learn new things. And even sometimes I learn new things about stuff I thought I knew really well. A little simple little things sometimes, but it's challenging. But it's also what keeps me going. I like the fact that every day I get up, there's going to be a baseline of the sameness, but then there's also going to be a lot of variability and a lot of new and a lot of just unpredictability in the work and the field. And I mean, this is something that I wouldn't have dreamt up 10 years ago, having a YouTube channel and actually doing live streams and stuff. It's like beyond just doing the daily work, these other opportunities that the field has provided. It's just, it's just been great.
Yeah, no, I think it's cool. I love your branding. I love you, Josh. Like, I love your personality. I love how kind you are. You've always been great. Like, the first time I met Josh, he was incredibly kind. I was like, basically I met him on campus, and he had been on campus for a while, so he was very comfortable. And I'm like walking around like a, classic dork first day on campus. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, hey, what's up? You're Jerry, right? I'm like, yeah. He's like, come on, like, let's get you sorted out. Like, let's go get some lunch. And it was cool. So it definitely resonates. And I can't think of a better person to represent the reverse engineering community than you, Josh.
Buttering buns. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, what else? I know you probably don't have much time left. It looks like, according to the timer, we're getting close to an hour.
Yeah, about 8 minutes.
What else should we discuss? Is there anything that we've covered a lot of ground, and maybe not in ways you and I didn't really rehearse this. I didn't have an agenda. Normally, I have a little bit of like bullet point ideas of topics I want to cover. I knew we'd be able to just talk and talk. Is there anything that maybe you were thinking we should cover that we haven't yet, or does anyone in the chat have things that they'd like us to talk about?
Yeah, if you have any questions, drop them in chat. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of Simply Cyber folks here. We rated your stream, which is awesome. I love it when we raid. But if you're not aware, if you go to simplycyber.io/Discord, you'll go to the Simply Cyber Discord server, which is pretty good. We got a lot of fun over there and helping each other out with community and just having a good time doing the general stuff. I don't know. I guess I'll throw it to the questions. I will tell you, Josh, and something I guess maybe to make you aware of. This is probably more appropriate for offline, but so one of the things that we're doing at Simply Cyber. Oh, thank you. One of the things we're doing at Simply Cyber, you might notice that it says Simply Cyber Media Group now. And one of the things that's big for 2025 is, in addition to when you do content live, you get to choose YouTube or Twitch, right? And there's reasons for both, but I'm more of a YouTube person, okay? And I want to educate, I want to entertain, I want to inspire. And one thing that Twitch does is it's your channel. So like, if you go live on your channel, it's there. There's one link. You go to twitch.tv/whatever. On YouTube, it's like every single show has to have a unique URL, and you got to schedule it, and it's a big pain in the butt. But one of the things that I want to do is to have 2-hour blocks of content every single day, Monday through Friday, by the end of 2025. And part of the vision for this is the media group. So I do my show 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., the Daily Cyber Threat Brief. Then 9 to 9:30 is another show called Jawjacking, which is like an AMA. And I do it a couple days a week, and we have guest hosts do it Tuesday and Thursday and Friday. It's a big free-for-all panel. It's awesome. So then 9:30 to 10, we're starting to expand where there are audio video podcasts that I'm not the talent of, but I'm hosting it on the platform. I'm helping produce it. I'm providing guidance because I've done it a lot, right? So I have some tips and tricks and whatever. And we've got 2 cyber chicks. We've got Simply Defensive, which is like a blue CTI kind of angle thing. We've got Cyber Mentors podcast, which is some CISO and a senior SOC guy from a prestigious, a really well-known university. And we're adding more. I think I'm going to have an industrial control system podcast. Anyways, the idea is that you'll be able to go to Simply Cyber at any point, and there'll be like really new, fresh, engaging, fun, informative content for people. So yeah, if you're ever looking to do a reversing or whatever malware analysis pod with some regularity, let me know, because we got room for JStro, or excuse me, the Cyber Yeti, on
Yeah,
the Cyber
yeah.
Media Group. So that's something big that's going on for 2025 as far as like growth goes.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds really cool. I have actually thought about doing more of a regular, uh, like a Friday malware roundup kind of a thing, where I take a look at what's been going on out there in the world. I'm just terrified of my consistency to be inconsistent, and that I wouldn't be able to with travel and work and kids, and I wouldn't be able to keep a regular schedule. But
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
a
I don't
tricky
know.
one because it's that one. So a lot of the pods are recorded and then I premiere them at the time slot.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing a roundup of that week's, it's that you're kind of setting yourself up for high intensity.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like a daily cyber brief, I can imagine.
Yeah, when I
That's
tell people I do a daily show, they're like, "What?" Like,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah, that's nuts. Yeah, well, I'm always open. Like I have one of my many personality flaws is that I have a hard time saying no to anything, and I always think I have more time in my schedule than I actually do. So I'm always willing to do more. And I do enjoy the content creation. I like that term, as far as, and that's how I see myself as well, as just sharing content. And I stick to what I do day in and day out, and that's the malware and the reversing. And any way to I don't know, go beyond that, I suppose at some point. I've been kind of considering that, expanding the scope a bit, but for now I got to stick with what I do because it overlaps with my day job a bit, and it makes life a little bit easier creating content. Yeah, so I think we're probably really close to the end
yeah,
of our time here. See, I don't know if anybody has any questions. Hey, Drew, thanks for joining. It's great to see you in here. I meant to say hi earlier, but I didn't want to interrupt Jerry. So yeah,
no,
I guess anything else? Otherwise, maybe we'll call
yeah.
it a
I mean,
day.
well, can you share my screen one more time?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I don't see it available. Are you
Oh,
sharing?
yeah, because I didn't. I'm new here. Hold on one second.
You got to click that little button.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so really quick, I just want everyone to know, I just dropped it in general chat on Simply Cyber's YouTube server, but this is the Cyber Yeti's YouTube channel that you're watching this stream on right now. And while the live content is amazing, Josh is awesome, there are playlists in here that you don't want to sleep on, and I want to call your attention to two specific ones. One, learning assembly, the foundations, and then right after it, intro to reverse engineering. I've TA'd for this guy because he's so good at teaching. I literally took a course in it, and for no grade or anything, just because it's that amazing. So if you're looking to get into reversing, or just, get a cup of reverse engineering and take a big slug off of it to see if you like the taste, those two courses, or playlists, excuse me, it's unbelievable that they're not behind a paywall. That's how good that is. And spoiler alert, assembly hasn't really changed in forever. So the content is still considered current and fresh. That's what I wanted to share with everybody, because it's so hot. It's a crime that more people don't know about it.
Yeah, well, that assembly course it's funny because it's videos from an old course I taught, and so like you're gonna hear me. I'm recording in a server room with a rickety fan running in the background, and the quality just isn't all that great. But the audio is clear, and then like you said, the assembly hasn't really changed over the years. It's been on the top of my to-do list to refresh that and actually build another proper course. Assembly for reverse engineers, or assembly for whatever. I don't know what I'm going to call it, but I haven't quite gotten there. I have some courses on Pluralsight where you can check out, where I have a little bit more of a refreshed and a very condensed assembly course. It teaches you just the essentials, but yeah, that is a pretty good one, and it's actually, I get a lot of viewership out of that, and I put it out there because when I was teaching, I had students coming into like 748 and 800 level ORE courses, and they would reach out to me in advance. I'm like, I'm really worried about this course. I think it's going to be really challenging. You got anything that can help me prepare? And I was like, well, I don't really, go read this PDF and go. So I threw those videos up there and said, yeah, pick through these and refresh yourself on some of the big important concepts. And that should help. So I'm like partially embarrassed because I would not have created that same content now that I did then, but then at the same time, it still covers all of the things you need to know. So they're going to live there for a while, and maybe someday I'll put it a little more proper behind a paywall, but not anytime soon.
All right. I how far have you come? That's what you really should take about. The content is awesome. The fact that you're in a server room recording on a potato is irrelevant. Okay.
It was a potato.
Yeah. Shout out to Casually Joseph, because I stole that joke from him. I gave him a camera one time, and he's like, I can't film on a potato, Jerry. Really quick. You should try this, Josh, just to experience it. Jasmine Powell asked a question, right, in chat. If you look over in chat in Restream and you just click on it, right, it will come on stage, and I can answer that question for her. It'll be awesome. You see it? Like on the right, there's all the different options, like maybe like design and all these other things, but then there is, all right, I want you, like, hold on one second. Can I see all the courses? Oh, I've got something awesome for her that I want to show.
Okay. What do you want me to do?
I want you to click on it so it shows up. Like on the bottom right where it says chat, it's like an option in the vertical nav.
Yeah.
When you click on that, you'll see all the chat. Once you see the chat, she's like the third or fourth.
Oh, yeah. Bring up the question. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's good. So just click on that.
Let me find the question now. I have a question breaking. This one right here.
It's a green. There it is. Yes.
How long does it take me? Hey, I'm new to this as well.
Hey, no. We're all leveling up. Okay. We're all leveling up. Josh Stroshine, you guys were here. Mark the tape. January 8th. He's got questions coming on stage. So Jasmine wants to know about breaking into InfoSec. What's the roadmap? What do you recommend? Listen, do the free stuff first. But for that reason, I want to share this with you. I literally did this on purpose. Can you share my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, two things, right? This is my academy, Jasmine. Simply Cyber Academy. And yeah, there's some paid options in here. First of all, this right here, you'll notice it says free. Okay, free. Go download it. This right here is like a 13-page micro book I wrote that literally is a 10-step roadmap to break in. Huge value. Once you do that, Josh, you're going to love this concept I did. This right here is the mid-career pivot kit. Now, Jasmine, I don't know if you're already working in industry and you're coming in or you're a college graduate, but here's the deal. This pivot kit, and I'm really proud of this, okay? Literally, Josh, one of the main problems, and if you go to academy.simplycyber.io, you'll get it. Josh, you'll have to put it in chat because
I'm doing that just now.
So let me break this down for you. This mid-career pivot cyber kit, here's the deal with it. So many people say, oh, here's a list of resources. Go, like, this will help you. Or, hey, here's an awesome list of GitHub. Or here's some labs. Go do them. And you're like, what the hell? What do I do? Or it's like a website with some stuff. And you're like, how do I use this information? So the mid-career pivot kit, Jasmine, it's literally a bunch of resources. And then they're categorized logically. So there's like networking resources, programming resources, incident response, SOC analyst, security plus, like all the resources. And then I make a video of me going into each resource. And once you get into the resource, I show you what you should be doing with that resource. What's the value? How should you progress? What are you doing there? So like, I basically kind of coach you on what to do with those resources. Then it's on you to go off and actually go take the action. And again, go back 30 minutes in this conversation. It's not easy, right? Our industry is not easy. We're not working on an assembly line like at a factory. Like, we're doing hard work, but anyone can do it. You just got to commit to it. But do those two things if you want, Jasmine. I'm not going to force you. It's just, I get this question so often that I literally curated these great resources, assembled them, made film and everything, and then made them free for everybody. So
you could where is that at again?
Yeah, your camera went out. I don't know what's going on with that.
Oh, can you hear me still?
Yeah, we can hear you.
It's new camera, and so there's that overheat temperature setting, and
Oh yeah, you can disable that.
I think I forgot to disable that. So
That's okay. Well, you look good either way. Oh man,
you can
look
go.
at this guy.
This is my old camera.
I love it. You know
Yeah.
what? Though? That's business continuity right there. You guys see that? He might reverse engineer like a boss, but he's got GRC business continuity. Like
I was ready, and I knew this. See, now you can really see the difference in the video quality. So
yeah, even your microphone's wrong. It looks like it switched over to your camera microphone because you sound hollow and echoey.
it picked up the webcam as well there, so that should be.
Oh, there you go. Buttery. This guy's butter again. Get your buns.
Yeah, I was for it. I forgot to set it. I sat down and I thought, I haven't used this camera longer than 20, 30 minutes. I bet it's going to shut off on me. It's too late now. So back.
Well, at least you know 56 minutes. Oh, 66 minutes is your threshold.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll get it figured. I'll get that set. That's a takeaway from today. Yeah. Sorry, I was looking for the link here, and I'm just not finding where that.
It's in private chat, so it's not in main chat. If you look below your face, in the actual Restream studio, there's a private chat.
I got it. All I see is next level branding, masterclass, and cyber resilience.
So, click on all product. You have to log in. Basically, you have to create a free account, and when you log in, all products are there.
Okay. Well, here you go then, everyone. You can follow the link to there, and follow Jerry's instructions.
Yep. Just log in.
Awesome.
And really quick, I want to say shout out to Robert Carroll. He said, later, Josh, see you in the den. So you got a Discord guy cracking around.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks,
but
Robert.
he said, Gerald, you're great, which thank you. That always feels nice. He says, if it wasn't for your resources, I wouldn't be where I'm at, which is awesome. I'm super happy for you, Robert. Congratulations on making the progress you had. Keep cracking.
Yeah. Awesome. And yeah, for sure. If you're in my Discord, say hi. I get in there as often as I can and try to help out. Luckily, there are a number of folks, and I imagine, Jerry, this is just the natural progression. If people like the community, they tend to become very active. And so I try to recruit not just people that want to learn, but also people that are willing to share, that want to find a place to share. Like mentorship is something that I think is really important, and it can be really hard because I get asked on occasion, would I be a mentor? And the one-on-one mentoring is just, I've tried it and I suck at it because it typically ends up being so demanding, time consuming. I wanted this to be a way to do that and to also provide then others that want to to do some mentoring, but not have to actually be necessarily responsible for a one-on-one mentoring relationship. They can jump into the channel. They can say, oh, somebody's looking for some help here. I know how to do that, or I know what they should be looking for, or watch out for this pitfall. They can offer some advice. They can bounce out. And then just the number of people that are kind of constantly there asking questions and providing answers can really help. So, and that's definitely what's happening. So I'm really excited to see that. And it's just, so yeah, definitely come in, say hi, and if you have questions with anything when it comes to malware, RE, and beyond. I mean, I don't really have any other channels dedicated to like IR specifically or red teaming, but I mean they're all very closely related. I mean, malware analysis is the process of looking at the red team tools or the nation state tools or the threat actor tools. I mean, it's all very related stuff in my mind. So awesome. Well, Jerry.
Okay. Thank you.
Way over time. Thank you again for your willingness to come on. It's great to be able to turn the tables because I know I've been on your stream a couple times. So it's really great to turn the tables here a little bit and be able to be the host. Simplycyber.io. Everything Jerry talked about, you're going to find there. To include the Discord here. I put this as a ticker instead of a little pop out, so you'll have to deal with the ticker for now. Live streams will continue throughout the year. I've got a number of guests lined up, continuing. I don't know if I have anything on the calendar quite yet because I'm on jury duty this month, and so I've been a little scared to get too much scheduled and that I'll get sucked into a courtroom and have to cancel. And then I've got some travel and stuff, but I've got a lot of streams planned for the year. Going to try to do a couple a month at least, if not more. but I think that's usually about as much as my schedule can handle. I've got the Malware Monday series, so if you're interested in learning more about malware analysis, my Malware Mondays series is designed to get you started. So go there, check out the stream. You can just start with the first stream. You'll find out, I think, pretty early on if malware analysis is new to you, if you like it. I mean, because this is the kind of work that you'll do, and then there's a bunch of other resources from there. So, yeah, I think that's it, Jerry.
Awesome. It's been wonderful talking with you, Josh. Simply Cyber community, you guys showed up in force. I love it. Hashtag Team SC. And to new people who just got to meet, it's nice to meet you, and I hope to see you more in the community.
Yeah, thanks for everything. Thanks for the team, bringing the team, always bringing that Simply Cyber energy. So it's awesome to see. All right, thanks everyone. I'm going to hit end stream. It's over. First stream of the year.